Hello, blessed family. You're welcome once again to my YouTube channel. My name is Bola. If you're coming across my YouTube channel for the very first time, you're welcome. Please feel free to subscribe, like, and share my videos. On this channel, I upload cutting and sewing tutorials. I do DIY on sewing tutorials. So please kindly join the family. Get me to my first 500 subscribers, please. And to my returning subscribers, thank you very much. Thank you for the immense show of love I've received. I am so much grateful. I am not taking any of it for granted. So quickly, we'll be going into today's tutorial. So very quickly, I'll be showing you the illustration I have here. We'll be making the upper body's keyhole gown. This is what we'll be making. Now I'll be using these Ankara prints. I'll first of all be drafting the upper bodice on my paper, on my pattern paper, before I cut out on my fabric. Okay, the gown is divided into three parts: the upper bodice, the skirt parts, and the flare parts. The upper bodice, the skirt parts, and the flare parts. Going with the illustration I have here, the upper bodice is a keyhole design. It's a keyhole design with a sweetheart neck. With this part, the sweetheart is a canoe neck, and I have a sweetheart form here. Okay, so the measurement I'm working with is the shoulder measurement of 16 inches. The shoulder measurement of 16 inches. From my shoulder to bust, I'll be making use of 11.5. Shoulder to under bust of 16 inches, and shoulder to waist 18.5 inches. So that is the measurement along the body. So the measurement across the body, from this point to this point, the bust measurement of 48 inches. I'll be using bust measurement of 48 inches, the waist measurement of 44 inches. So I'll move over to the skirt parts. I'll be using 25 inches for the skirt length, 25 inches for the skirt length. The waist still remains the same, 44 inches, and the hip measurement of 48 inches. Okay, you would see that at this point I'll be going in by 1 inch or 1.5, just to give the skirt part a curvy effect. I'll be going in by 1.5 inches to give it a curvy effect. So the third part of the gown is the flare part. So the flare part, I'll be making use of 18.5 lengths. So when you add these three lengths together, it's going to give me my gown length of 62 inches. The upper body is of 18.5, the skirt part of 25 inches, and the flare of 18.5. When I add the three to measurement together, I'm going to have 62 inches as my gown length. Okay, so this is what we'll be making. I'm going to set this paper aside now, and I will concentrate on my pattern paper. So I have my pattern paper now. I have my pattern paper here, and I already have my lines ruled out. The first line I have here is my bust line, the bust line of 11.5, under bust line of 16 inches, the waist of 18.5, the waist line of 18.5, and I have 1 inch for the joining allowance. I'll be using this 1 inch to join the upper parts to the skirt parts. I'm adding 1 inch to the measurement. I'll be using that 1 inch to join these upper parts to the skirt parts. Okay, so the next thing for me to do Let me try to bring the camera closer. Okay. On the shoulder line, this is the shoulder line. On the shoulder line, I'll be taking my shoulder measurements. The shoulder measurement I'm working with is 16 inches. 16 divided by 2 will give me 8 inches. I'll be adding half inch allowance, half inch to it. That is 8.5. On the 8.5 points, I'll be marking my armhole of 9 inches. I'll connect the points together. I'll make it into a straight line. So this point now is our chest line. I can decide to label this as the chest line. Okay. Still on the shoulder line, I'll be taking my neck design. I'm working with a canoe neck, so I'll be using 5 inches for my canoe neck. And the depth of 2.5. So I'll be connecting these points to these points. I've actually found this is a cover of my plate that I've found so useful because of the curved edges. So this is for the neck. This is the neckline. And on this armhole line, I'll be coming down by 1 inch. I'll be coming down 1 inch for the shoulder slope. Having done that, because I'll be taking a keyhole, because I'll be making use of the keyhole, I'm going to be coming down by 5 inches. I'll be coming down 5 inches. I'm going to note 5 inches. I'll make the 5 inches into a straight line. At the center part, I'll be going up by 1 inch. I'll go up 1 inch on the center point, 1 inch, and then I'm going to connect from this 1 inch to this part. I'll be connecting from here now down here. So that is that about the upper point. So when I'm cutting out, if I want to cut out, I'll cut this point out, then I would increase by half inch. When cutting on my fabric, I'm going to increase by half inch. Okay, so that aside, I will then move over to the bodice now to take my bust span. I'm going to take my bust span. The bust span I'm working with is 5 inches. I'll take my bust span of 5 inches. I'll be taking it all the way down. I'll take 5 inches on the bust line, on the other bust line, and on the waistline. I'll be taking the 5 inches. So I made it into a straight line. And on this line also, I'll be taking the 5 inches. On this line, I'll be taking the 5 inches. Okay, so this is the bust line. I'm going to note 1 inch above the bust line and 1 inch below it. I'm going to note 1 inch above and 1 inch below. On this upper line, I'll be taking ½ inch. I'll take ½ inch towards the mid area and 1 inch towards the armhole area. So I'll be connecting these points to the 1 inch above my bust line. Then move over to the under bust. On this side, I'll be taking 1 inch, and on this side, I'll be taking 1.5 inches. I'll take same on the waistline as well, 1 inch and 1.5. I made it to a straight line, and I'll be connecting to this 1 inch below. So that's that. I'll then go ahead to insert my circumference measurements. On this chest line, I'll be taking my bust measurements. The bust measurements I'm working with is bust 48. Bust 48 divided by 4 is 12. I'll be adding 2 inches. The 2 inches allowance will already give room for these ones that I'll be cutting out, because I'll be cutting this part off. So I'll be adding 2 inches allowance to it. I'll be taking 12 inches. I'll add 2 inches to it as well. That's what I'll be taking the bust measurement also on the bust line. I'll then move over to the waistline to take my waist measurements. I'm making use of waist 44 inches. 44 divided by 4 is 11. I'll be taking 11 inches. You remember that I took 1.5 on this side and ½ inch and 1 inch on this side. That makes it 2.5. So I'll be replacing the 2.5. I'll be replacing the 2.5 inches. I'll then be adding to 2 inches allowance. This is the 2.5 that I'll be cutting out. Then the 2 inches. I'm going to connect this part is the allowance. So on this upper part, I'll be replacing this 1.5 inch that I'll be cutting out. So I'll be replacing it. I'll be replacing this 1.5 back, just so to avoid shortage of fabric when I cut out. So I'm going to extend this line. And I'll be replacing 1.5 inch. The 1.5 inches I'll be cutting out. I'm going to extend it more. So I'll be adding 2 inches to it as well. I'll be adding these 2 inches. After coupling together, I would cut the excess out. It's better that way instead of me having a shortage of fabric. So I'm going to add excess of 2 inches. If it's over, I can cut it out after coupling together. Okay, so this is the allowance now. Then this point, I'll be making a sweetheart design on this point. I'll go in by 1 inch on this mid part. I'm making a sweetheart design. I hope you can see what I'm doing. I'll go in by 1 inch on this mid part. Then I'll make a curve to connect it to this point, just to make a sweetheart design. Don't mind me, I'm improvising using the lid of my plastic. Don't mind this place. When I cut it and I join together, I'm going to reshape this armhole area. I'm still going to reshape it. So this is for the front piece. Now I'm going to cut it out. So after cutting out, this is what I have. I'm going to set this aside to cut the back. Do this it. Maybe it will. Okay, I think it will be better this way. Okay, so I'm going to set this up aside. I'll then be cutting the back piece.